and a very warm welcome to you. And thank you for joining us today, whether that's live now or in catch-up. My name's Nick Crawford, Head of Strategy here at Jurang, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the topic and speakers for today. Customer lifestyle marketing, one of the greatest ways to maximize the value and profitability of your customers by putting the customer first, putting it at the center of everything you do. Now, I've had a little sneak peek at today's content, and I know that you're going to find it both informative and immediately useful in generating ideas on how to develop your marketing approach. And please do stay to the end. There's a great case study from MAP, which shows how a brand has brought on and offline together to be able to attribute their performance, and some really nicely tailored content specific to very micro moments in time, which I know you're going to be able to take inspiration from. As we go through, if you've got any questions that you would like to ask, please do put them in the Q&A box that's available to you at the bottom of the screen. I'll be having a look at those, and we'll make sure we've got plenty of time to discuss them at the end of today's session. So just before I introduce your speakers, let me just kind of run through very quickly the agenda that we're going to be running through today. So we'll have a quick introduction from Jurang and MAP and our speakers, an overview of customer lifestyle, some examples of the types of communication and touch points, and then really start to bring that to life, both in terms of the benefits and some real world examples of how that's being achieved at the moment, and then those questions and answers at the end. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers. So we've got Ben Hocking, our Client Success Manager from Jurang, and Jamie Mackey, Pre-Sales Consultant from MAP. It's a pleasure to meet you. Ben, do you want to introduce yourself and just give a little overview of Jurang for us?
Will do. Thank you very much for introducing there. Thank you very much for everyone for joining. So yeah, as mentioned, my name is Ben. I'm a Senior Client Success Manager here at Jurang. So at Jurang, we are 100% focused on email marketing, as you'll see throughout plenty of the slides today. And I'm sure if any of you have seen one of our previous webinars, we're very email focused there too. We've got 20 years experience in the industry, and over those 20 years we've been able to cultivate our offering and really develop our processes to the point where we are at this point one of the leading email marketing expert agencies in the world.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ben. And Jamie, it's a real pleasure to have you on today. Do you want to introduce yourself and just give us an overview of MAP?
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Ben, and thanks to Jurang for having us. So yeah, my name's Jamie. I'm a pre-sales consultant here at MAP Digital. So part of my role at MAP is being able to solve customer problems and be able to apply a wide range of technical solutions to that. Prior to MAP, I worked as a delivery consultant at Cisco for a number of years, supporting a wide range of businesses in the telecommunications and finance sector. And outside of MAP, I live in Southwest London with my family, and absolutely love kind of like food, travel, and more. So yeah, really looking forward to kind of getting stuck in and showing you how to maximize growth for customer lifecycle marketing. So a little bit about MAP. So we've had over 25 years kind of experience in the game. If the names eCircle or Teradata ring a bell to you, that's what we used to go by. And with kind of acquisitions over the years, we've been able to build this supercharged insight-led customer experience platform called MAP Cloud, being able to bring all of your customer data and insights into one place, and then being able to execute upon that with one-to-one hyper-personalized tailored marketing across a wide range of channels. We've got a wide range of clients in the industry, everyone from Lloyd's Banking Group from finance, huge CPG brands like PepsiCo, retail and hospitality, as you can see with Pizza Express, Farrow & Ball, and other clients such as Qantas and more in kind of travel and publishing. So yeah, with MAP Cloud, we do it all. We cover a wide range of industries, and yeah, really looking forward to showing you kind of customer lifecycle marketing today.
That's great, Jamie. Thank you. Some really good clients there. Looking forward to seeing some of the examples that you've got throughout today. And travel and food, what lovely bedfellows.
Indeed.
Nothing better than that, is there? Lovely. All right. So without much further ado, I will hand over to you and yeah, tell us something about customer lifecycle marketing.
Great. And we'll start with an overview of customer lifecycle marketing, as it's always best to start with a definition or two. Largely speaking, it defines the marketing strategies used to target customers. So really, we're talking about the journey from the first point of acknowledgement of your brand or your service or your product to the very last purchase that someone makes. So you're covering a very, very wide range of individuals within that sphere, but overall, it's the journey from first point to last point. This then allows the companies to define strategies and target both customers and prospects based on where you're at. So, for example, you don't want to patronize anyone who's on your database who's been a loyal customer for, say, 10 years by thinking that they know nothing at all, which is a danger if you're not using customer lifecycle marketing. So you've got someone who's been on the list for 10 years and you're telling them all about your business, that an introductory sort of crash course of what your business is all about. They're probably going to be a little bit miffed because they already know this. They've been a loyal customer, and that's not reflected in the marketing that you're sending out to them. Equally, you could go the other way with it, where if someone has just joined your database 2 weeks ago and you're talking to them as if they know absolutely everything about your company, that's a surefire way to alienate a large percentage of your database and not get them through the journey. And actually, the first point is going to be the last point that they do as well. When asked what is the main benefit of email marketing generally, and to be honest, I think you could extend this out to marketing rather than just email, but if we're talking email specifically, my go-to answer for what the main benefit is personalization. So email marketing gives you the opportunity to speak to thousands or millions of contacts on a one-to-one level. And the personalized experience can come about as a result of customer lifecycle marketing. If you're able to identify where your subscribers are in sort of those stages, you can then start to target based on that. The more relevant, the more personalized your content, generally speaking, the more engagement you're going to get. And then just a couple of quick stats there. 80% of consumers are more likely to buy from a company that provides a personalized experience, and 72% of customers will only engage with personalized messaging. I would say that the days of sending emails to the whole database are over, or at the very least, they are coming to a close very soon. And those that are still going down that path are missing out on some key benefits of segmentation. These sporadic campaigns, that they're not going to lead to the sales and the leads that you would hope that they would. You need to make the most of the opportunity to be strategic here. So focusing on what the customers want is one thing and is definitely needed, but go a bit further than that and focus on when they want it. So you might have two individuals on your database who at some point will go to the same point. Like at some point, they will both purchase the same product from you. But that doesn't mean you should speak to them in exactly the same way, because they might not be as ready as one another to make that purchase. So you might have someone who you've been nurturing for months and you've sent them various emails, including newsletters and promotional sends, and they might be ready to make that purchase. You might have someone else who in a few months' time will also be ready to make that purchase. But if they're not ready yet, speaking to them in the same way is unlikely going to result in two sales, one for each. The 5 stages, and I'm going to go into all 5 of these in a little bit more depth, but just to list them out in the first instance. What the stages are will vary a little bit depending on who you're talking to. There are some terminology differences, but by and large, this follows a pretty close standardization of what the customer life cycle is. So the first step is acquisition, recruitment, and prospect nurture. So this is the very early stage where a customer might have only really heard about you, but not know much else other than that. Consideration and demand creation is the second step. So this is where they're not quite ready to make a first purchase yet, but you're doing everything you can to get them ready for that stage. The middle stage, first use and experience, as it kind of says in the title, is just making sure that the experience is smooth and goes well for them as they're going through that first purchase. Loyalty, advocacy, and retention, so ensuring that the purchase is not a one-off thing. And then lapsing and win back. So after a purchase has been done and it doesn't look like a repeat purchase is going to happen, what do you do at that stage? So as mentioned, I'll go through all 5 of those in a little bit more depth, and we'll start with the first step, which was acquisition, recruitment, and prospect nurture. So at this step specifically, you need to have a lot of focus on encouragement and introduction of the brand, because whilst anyone at this stage will have limited understanding of your business, you do have their email address, so there is going to be some prior engagement there. But I think the less you assume they know, the better at this point. So you want to create content that introduces the brand, and not just introduces what you do, but more specifically why you do it. I think that's another point to raise, is not just who you are in terms of what you sell or what you provide. It's why you sell it and why you provide it. This is the opportunity to get into ethics and morals and what your company specifically is all about. Offering essential information is valuable at this point as well. And just overall inspirational content that's going to capture attention. The other thing to raise here that is perhaps less done at this point is reducing fears. So I think regardless of the size of your business and what your business is, there will always be some natural early reservations to using your service or using your company. I think those brands and companies that are more self-aware at this point and can identify those fears and alleviate them are in a better position than those that choose to ignore them and let them fester. So I think reducing known fears at this point is valuable to include in these communications. In terms of the actual sends that are useful at this point, welcome campaigns. They've shown 60% in open rates and 14% in click-through rates as an average. Welcome and nurture campaigns, really important. The second step, consideration and demand creation. So at this point, customers have started to become aware of their need or their want for the product or service, and now they're starting to consider the options that are available to them. So at this point, you want to focus on what they need to know before going ahead and making a purchase. What are the frequently asked questions? And really answering the question, why your brand over the others? What differentiates you from another 3 companies that do the same thing that you do? At this point, you're starting to get into more regular communications. So at this point, the subscriber is likely part of your normal newsletter cycle, or you've got regular promotional emails going out that they would be a part of. But there are also important transactional sends at this point as well. So as a couple of examples, basket or cart abandon is really important in this stage. So if they haven't quite gone ahead with a purchase, it can act as a really useful reminder. And in a lot of instances, you know, if you trust in what you do in terms of your product, as long as you can get them over the line on that first purchase, then it might well lead to the 4th step, which is loyalty and advocacy. And back in stock emails are a useful one here as well. So somebody might have gone and searched for a product that is not available at the moment and they haven't made a purchase yet. If you're able to, and many brands do this now, if you're able to just put your email address in here on the web page, and we'll let you know when it's back in stock. Even if they end up not needing it by the time it is back in stock, I still think it's a really useful customer service touch point that people are going to remember for if they might want to go ahead and buy it at a later date, or even buy an additional product from you that they hadn't initially considered. Third step, first use and experience. So this is just making the experience as smooth and as enjoyable as possible. And I think in instances where I'm sure everyone will back themselves that 99% of the time it's a smooth experience, but there are going to be issues occasionally. So it's about making the purchase experience as smooth as possible. But in instances, for whatever reason it isn't, just being there as much as you can and going above and beyond expectations is really valuable. thank you emails after their first transaction. Really simple, but actually it's more neglected than you think it would be. Not in terms of the emails themselves, but actually just saying the words thank you. It's quite often forgotten about, and it's just a really simple thing that actually goes a long way. And that can be the first step towards loyalty, again, which is kind of the stage that we're looking to keep people in as long as possible. And of course, other important transactional elements here. So order confirmation, order dispatch, they just need to be simple, easy to understand, not convoluted. The fourth step is loyalty, advocacy, and retention. So 61% of small and medium-sized businesses report that over half of their revenue comes from repeat customers rather than new business. There are so many statistics out there that will prove the point that you want to keep customers rather than get new ones. It's so much cheaper to do it that way. What inspires loyalty is an interesting question, because there are some elements of loyalty that are going to be specific for pretty much every business. So providing an easy to use service is kind of applicable for everyone, but there are going to be things that inspire loyalty for your business specifically. So you might want to delve into those to be able to answer, how can I ensure more loyalty from one-time users? And additionally here, data-wise, you're starting to get a more evolved picture, again, going back to personalization. So whilst you might have had demographic data prior to that first purchase, you've now got more behavioral data and purchase data to work with, which is going to lead to more tailored content. More tailored content equals more engagement equals more sales. So use the opportunity to figure out, okay, what did they purchase last time? What goes well with that? Will they want it again? Plus the behavioral data of how they've interacted with prior emails to that, you're starting to get an overall better data picture. And then the last step is lapsing and win back. I actually think the first important question here, because arguably the most important question is, why have they stopped using you? But I would actually take it one step further back from that. When you're looking at lapsing and win back campaigns, ask the question, have they actually stopped using you? Because there are seasonality elements here that need to be considered. So you might have someone who, let's say, uses your company or uses a product from your company very specifically for a gift every year, let's say for a close friend or a partner's gift, right? They only want to spend that on their birthday every single year. So they might go unengaged, in quotation marks, for 11 months. If you therefore think that they need to be won back, that might not be the case. It's just their patterns in terms of how they purchase. So I would definitely answer in the first instance, when it comes to win back campaigns, do they even need to be won back? But if you then have identified they do, I think then establishing why they have stopped using you is incredibly valuable, because that's going to determine what those campaigns look like. They should include resolutions to common issues if you know about them. There are different things you can do in terms of reactivation, but certainly figuring out why they've stopped using you is a really important point here. And I'll hand over to Jamie.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ben. So as Ben mentioned, there are multiple different steps to sort of the customer lifecycle marketing cycle and how it all plays a role. And channels are ever changing, particularly as customers have different preferences. And also, I like to think of channels as they've changed significantly from, say, 20 years ago. Similar to how kind of TV, you'd have kind of like 4 or 5 channels, and now there's like millions and streaming and all of those different kind of aspects. The same has happened with channels. And even though we still retain our sort of backbone of below the line marketing with SMS and email, there are a range of different channels, as well as channels that are, say, overlooked, that can all feed into different parts of those stages when contacting your customers. So we're going to kind of go through a few channels today and sort of show how each of them can play a role within customer lifecycle marketing. And the first one is mobile marketing, so SMS and push, and how that all plays a role. So SMS has always been a big kind of part of marketing ever since kind of SMS really kind of took off in the early noughties. I don't know if anyone ever remembers kind of texting and then to a short code, getting like a polyphonic ringtone or something. And it's kind of the same now, particularly as be it you want to get a discount or anything like that. There is that inbound kind of method, but also outbound. So for example, I see a lot of restaurants, like say Pizza Hut, send me a marketing SMS to say, hey, get 50% off a pizza when you collect in store. And those kind of different elements all tie into what SMS is now, because you're competing for people's time and you don't want to kind of bombard them or spam them with lots of SMSs. So this is where on the marketing side, it's particularly useful for contacting customers about sort of like time sensitive offers, be it like the pizza or for example, a campaign I worked on with a mobile network a couple of years ago, being able to contact customers 90 days before the end of their contract and say, hey, look, as a loyal customer, you can get 20% off if you sign up to a new contract now. And that kind of direct, kind of almost invasive, because it's the first thing that comes up on your phone as a notification, allows them to then go in and hopefully convert. But it's not just limited to kind of marketing. You also have the use of transactional SMS. So as Ben mentioned, being able to provide that kind of seamless experience for, say, order updates or two-factor authentication codes can also play a major role with that kind of directness of the channel. And the thing about SMS, though, is it's a very one way, it's kind of just text, and that can be kind of considered a little bit boring at times. So then with mobile push, as well as other initiatives that other networks and other platforms are using, the role of mobile push allows you to bring rich media into that. So with images, personalized CTAs to say, yeah, I want to buy that product, or yeah, I'm interested in that service, that the customer could easily click into and then gain a greater experience because they have that kind of visual content. And so that's where kind of mobile marketing is going, having a more two-way, more interactive, more media rich kind of content to sort of engage with those customers. The same could be said for web push. So web push, you may have seen kind of when you go onto a website and it says, hey, can I send you notifications when you maybe aren't on the site? And that's one of the benefits of it, being able to allow the customer to explicitly give their permission or consent to receive these notifications. And when they do, they get the ability to have very short and snappy little alerts that can come through on the website, with kind of just a simple title, body, a CTA to hopefully lead them into converting onto the website, which is kind of the main goal of web push. It's to drive that traffic to a website or a web app to then be able to allow customers to convert. So some examples that we have here, for example, like for Black Friday, maybe because there's kind of like a reduction sale on the kind of tail end of that, or maybe because there's been a jackpot triggered, being able to send that in real time. Now, this isn't just kind of limited to PC or Mac or Linux, any sort of kind of web browser. While it's been on Android for a little while now, Apple recently made changes with iOS 16, which allows the ability to use the push API for mobile. So if you have a website, the customer can add it to their home screen and then be able to receive those notifications. So it's never been easier to allow customers that kind of explicit permission to receive your content, but also be able to contact them in a cost-effective, direct way, similar to SMS. So the next channel is direct mail. Now, direct mail is a bit of an interesting one because it's one that marketers, like even I kind of refer to it as the snail mail, but I don't think it should necessarily be overlooked. And perfect story. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with kind of the Southwest London or Richmond area, but along Richmond Riverside on the River Thames, there's a restaurant which is on a boat. Now, the boat, unfortunately, there was a major fire incident and they rebuilt and they built up this new Australian restaurant called the Peggy Jean. And in order to kind of get remind customers and say, hey, we're back in business, we're open, they sent around a flyer which said, hey, you can get 50% off food with our soft launch. And for me to receive that, I was like, oh, you know what, I should go. And, I went and gone and and lo and behold, had some very good Australian barbecue. And that's kind of the thing with direct mail. It's being able to be relevant and tailored to your customers rather than kind of having a one-size-fits-all approach, particularly as customers, they'll have on their letterbox kind of like no solicitation, or we don't want to receive this. And so with direct mail, you want to kind of use that to your advantage to say, contact customers who may not be interacting with their digital kind of channel counterparts, or maybe to even surprise and delight your kind of loyal customers, maybe saying, hey, we love you as a customer, here's 50% off, or kind of like a tailored discount. And similar to those digital channels, you're able to bring in a range of different kind of strategies to track and measure that engagement. So again, having a unique coupon code that can be linked to the individual user, or a QR code, even maybe even like a DDI, if direct dial-in, to be able to kind of measure that success from the campaign. But again, it doesn't necessarily have to be kind of that flyer as we were talking about. For example, one of our clients, Air Miles, they were able to kind of produce an interactive pop-out element with their marketing, say, hey, where will you go to collect these 100 Air Miles, and where will you use them on? We use them for travel, we use them for discounts. But even that kind of fun little whimsical kind of pulling it out and saying, oh, I've got a membership, or I've got this, or some free miles, can also help. And I see a lot of kind of charities and hospitality spaces using that interactive element to be able to engage with customers and therefore lead them on to the next step of conversion, be it kind of acquisition or driving into a physical location, or for, say, like managing, being able to kind of target customers in the right way. So before so while Map's kind of bread and butter is email, I'm going to pass back to Ben to kind of discuss their also bread and butter, which is email, and all of the different sorts of stages and cadences that can play a role throughout the customer lifecycle.
Cool. Yeah. So naturally, yeah, we're huge advocates of email, but to echo sort of what Jamie was mentioning there, with all of the other channels, email really works best when it's part of an overall approach, an overall marketing strategy, where we believe email should play a rather large part of it, but certainly it works best alongside those other channels that was mentioned just then. We just wanted to run through some example campaigns and where they might sit inside of those 5 stages of the customer lifecycle journey. So the first one here, I know when we were discussing this one, Jamie, this was something we picked out as a very good one, but sort of welcome is on the first step of that journey. An example here from a company called Rover. I actually really like this example. So if we're looking on the left-hand side specifically to start with, I just enjoy the simplicity of the email and the stages it takes you through. It covers off all the key points that you need to in a welcome email. So you've got the hello in the first instance. Then there's a thank you for signing up that I've already mentioned is really valuable to have in place. You've then got what we're all about. Our dogs are our family. We know it's the same for you too. So it's a very clear sign of what their morals and ethics are. A clear link. There's not multiple links going on here. There's not 10 different things you can click out to. It's just a simple, you can go here to get started. And then an expectation setting as well. So this is what you'll get as a result of being subscribed to us. So it almost, I think, ticks every box. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some other elements around this email is particularly around the design. Like, it's very clear. Again, you mentioned about the links, but a very clean, colorful design that is stand out for the customer, having that personalization as well, saying about, hi, Becky, and with Rover as well, bringing kind of other aspects about, say, like the different dog breed or the dog name, and kind of being able to kind of bring that personal connection to the customer, particularly with a welcome journey, which is so important to educate, inform, and also entertain your customers when introducing them to your brand.
Yeah, I like the second example on the right-hand side too, just because it's a great way of displaying a relatively large amount of content. So numbers within emails in terms of like numbered approaches, that works really well. So you've got the 3 simple steps to sort of get going. and then the data, the content underneath that, where you've got sort of 4 bullet points. Bullet points are a great way, again, to break down information rather than just sort of 3 paragraphs of long form prose. I think it's a good way of displaying that info within one email.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like, it's quite straightforward. It's not a very busy email. And that's something to also consider with all of those different channels, because you are competing for people's time. Particularly as they get distracted with different elements on their phone or, throughout their lives. So being able to make those simple, straightforward emails throughout those different cadences, as Ben will walk through, really will stand out to your customers.
Just another quick example as well of a welcome email. I think in this instance, what CheeseGeek do quite well here is very quickly get to the point of what they're all about. So you can tell straight away, just based on some of those brilliant/dreadful puns, depending on what your standing is on those, straight away what they're all about. The only thing that I would mention here is I think how they've displayed the content isn't optimal, but I think at least is a good introduction to who they are. We've also got user-generated content that we just wanted to mention here as well. This is probably most useful in the second stage. So we're talking about demand generation here, where being able to display your products in an actual lifestyle setting can be really valuable. So we've done a recent webinar on all about user-generated content, but certainly where you're able to display a product as if it's part of your life versus just a standalone shot can be really valuable. So I think here they've just got 2 really good examples.
Absolutely. And that kind of gives that proof to the customer that it works in those sort of scenarios. Yeah. I mean, think of it like McDonald's. It's all good having like the really fancy burger, but then you get like a sad burger at the end of it. With that kind of user-generated content, it brings that kind of proof to say, hey, look, this works in a real life setting, and therefore kind of reinforces that behavior for the customer to go, hey, it works for them, it will work for me.
Absolutely. And then just another example here when it comes to email is a win-back campaign. So we're going to the 5th of the 5 stages in terms of lapsed customers here. Again, I think being simple and straightforward at this point is a good idea. So offers are naturally, they might not be the prettiest way to go about it, but offers do work at this point. So you're re-incentivizing with 15% off here, very clear as to what the code is, a simple CTA, and then some opportunity for cross-sell as well. So if you know that you've got, this is an opportunity to be dynamic with the content. If you know the purchase history of the customer that you're reaching out to here, you're able to fill in those 2 additional products below with something that relates to their previous purchases. So you're not going completely in the opposite direction where there's no chance they're going to go ahead and make that purchase. Now we'll just talk a little bit about the benefits of customer lifecycle marketing, which might be a fairly short one because we have throughout the last half an hour or so gone through a lot of the benefits, but certainly where you can tailor campaigns to an individual's progress in this journey is the number one benefit of using customer lifecycle marketing, in my opinion. And then just to go back to data again, you're able to utilize that to segment customers and then personalize these automations and these campaigns. So there should always be a good mixture of automated campaigns and indeed manual campaigns, utilizing the data that you're obtaining via this customer lifecycle approach. You're going to see rewards of that fairly quickly, I think.
Absolutely. And I think with some of the other benefits of customer lifecycle marketing, it's how it can also tie into the wider business picture. So, for example, being able to kind of cross-sell and upsell is extremely important, particularly if you are a business or an e-commerce kind of business that offers a wide range of different products. Now, like a sweet shop, it's all good to have kind of one sort of variety that might be a winner, but how do you then sort of understand what customers want next? How do you understand what other service and offerings or how they're behaving to help kind of shape that strategy, be it from kind of that demand generation all the way through to the kind of that retention and loyalty? So like, but picking up different levels of suites or offering kind of different discounts and bits like that, all of that insight into how your customers are behaving, what their preferences are, because each customer is going to be unique as well. Being able to deliver a tailored, targeted strategy depending on each of those personas that you're kind of leveraging within your customer lifecycle marketing can help increase those sales and revenue that is important to growing a business. Now, another thing is around change. Now, I absolutely hate change, and I think I don't want to kind of repeat myself, but we've been through quite a profound level of change, with the pandemic and everything that's happened over the last few years. But change is extremely important because customer behavior is changing kind of like day in, day out. It's no longer that kind of one size fits all approach to your marketing. And again, as Ben mentioned, those different steps and how you can tailor it. So being able to kind of change and adapt in real time to how those customers are behaving and varying different steps as a customer goes through the cycle gives you that kind of flexibility and relevance in an ever-changing market. And again, going back to kind of that one size fits all approach, because I see some businesses offer 20% across the board to their customers. And while that's great, especially for me, because I love a good discount, it doesn't work for, kind of, again, prioritizing and optimizing your marketing. So being able to kind of segment your customers into, say, clustering with like, here's your loyal customers, or here are your customers at risk, or prioritizing their channels as well, because it's all good sending customers, say, SMS, but sending them an SMS and then an email or maybe a web push, or the channels that suit them as well as suit kind of each use case or way that you're trying to target those customers allows you to build more targeted and relevant marketing. So that's kind of the benefits. And sorry, Ben, for the next slide. Thank you. So then that kind of feeds into what is the value exchange of customer lifecycle marketing. So a good 2/3 of customers now expect businesses or brands to know them. Like they want to be informed, they want to be educated, and they want to be entertained as well and surprised and delighted. But at the same time, they don't want to be bombarded or harassed with messages, and they want like businesses to get to know them, but they don't want their trust abused, particularly in a more digital and privacy conscious world. So then how do you apply that to kind of the value exchange? So again, it's kind of taking the bigger picture. How do you stay in touch with your customers? How do you provide kind of helpful but not harassful reminders that may bombard a customer? How do you provide value for money at the right time when a customer is going to check out, or if they're looking at a particular product as well? And that feeds into that kind of idea of knowing a customer's identity. Like, how do you understand what they want, what they like, and how they will behave? So this then goes into the value for the brand, like, because it's all good kind of considering all these expectations, but what does it deliver for you? And effectively being able to kind of re-engage and drive that traffic, being able to optimize your kind of product marketing across all the range of different channels, also being able to understand that customer satisfaction with NPS and CSAT, and feeds into the wider picture of being able to kind of acquire, grow, retain, and keep your customers, and being able to also save costs and improve revenue, increase revenue at the same time. So this then goes into the different improvement opportunities that you can perform for your business and how to measure that success. How can you increase that engagement and repeat visits? How can you increase that revenue? How can you kind of decrease discounting so you're not leveraging that kind of one size fits all approach, and again, tailoring different discounts or different opportunities to your customers to make them happy, but also, decrease costs and increase revenue and so on and so forth. And that's kind of where the value exchange is, because being able to implement that for your business allows you a greater like knowledge and understanding of your customers, but also greater understanding of your business. And that can feed into the wider business objectives that, say, your merchandising team may be doing, or what your senior leadership team may be looking at. But again, with that kind of value exchange, it's all good kind of having that, but kind of similar to sort of playing blackjack in a casino. It's all good to kind of go by gut feel and go, right, I've got this or I've got that. But, if you don't kind of play your cards right, that can lead to, sometimes you're going to get lucky breaks, but at other times you may not. And you want to kind of remove those elements of gut feel and have a data-driven backed approach. How do you take that data, which gets turned into information, and that information can then lead your insights and marketing strategy to then go out and target customers? So with MapCloud, we have Map Intelligence, which is our customer insights and analytics tool, which allows you to understand all of that customer behavior, how are they performing, what products are they looking at, bits like that. And again, that data can be turned straight into insights that can then be immediately executed across multiple channels, saving you time and money and resource, and having all the tools to be able to execute that all within one platform and ecosystem. So this then ties into kind of how Map and also Jurang can help with customer lifecycle marketing. Back to you, Ben.
Yeah, great. I'll only keep it for a very short amount of time because I just wanted to quickly run through sort of life cycle campaigns here. I've already gone through a lot of these already, but maybe just to pick out one or two that I haven't mentioned so far. So really, when it comes to loyalty, advocacy, and retention, I just wanted to mention here about the opportunity to send out birthday emails, to send out replenishment emails. So birthday emails and VIP emails, really your intention is always to keep them as much as you can in that stage 4. Being able to, again, utilize that data a little bit more that you now have an evolved look at is a really good way to go about this. So whether it's the month of the birthday or the actual birthday itself, some like to be a bit more vague about it, you have an opportunity just to show that you really value and the customer that you're talking to. And then the other one I just wanted to pick on here is the replenishment series. So I think I mentioned this very briefly earlier on, but an opportunity to gain that repeat business is to understand those patterns of purchase. So if you do have a product that is, let's say, quite routinely bought on a 3-month basis, you can make it much easier, and you can save the money by doing a subscribe and save sort of plan. But again, that is similar to the birthday email, just understanding the customer and knowing who they are, when they want things, why they want things.
And that plays a role in today's story with Prematal. So Prematal is a business that we've worked with kind of to be able to achieve their different goals, particularly as they are bridging the gap between their kind of digital and physical retail spaces. So established in 1947 in France, they're now headquartered in Italy. I hope none of my Italian colleagues are watching this, but they're outside of Milan. So very local to us at MAP as well. And for our UK viewers, they're very similar to kind of like Early Learning Centre or Mother Care, being able to provide mothers and newborn babies all the way through to kind of the early years stage, a range of different products, everything from, maternity clothing through to kind of like buggies, cribs, prams, and early years clothing as well. And they have over 16 countries with most of their focus in the European Union. So with Prenatal, their kind of challenge was, how do you kind of bridge that gap together? They saw 2022 and also the pandemic as a huge kind of shift in kind of customer behavior. And again, customers not being able to access the retail store, how do they then access things digitally? But also, how do they gain that single customer view? Because mothers, as they go through the pregnancy life cycle, from the initial moment of finding that they're pregnant through to the early years of having their child, how do they bring all of that data together to be able to then execute upon that? So kind of their goals were to be able to have that seamless customer experience and also improve that customer experience for them, be it kind of they're in looking on the website 1 minute and then being able to bring that in store, bridging that gap together and therefore increasing their revenue and engagement goals. So part of that was with Programa Mama, or the Mother Program. So the Mother Program was able to kind of work back from a mother's expected due date and then be able to provide targeted, relevant, personalized kind of updates as they go through the cycle. So at 4 months, they'll receive kind of updates on, say, maternity clothing or things that they may need in preparation for their baby. Whereas 9 months later, as you can see, with kind of like a 5-month difference, again, being able to be prepared with different items. And again, with the kind of tie-in of having personalized kind of recommendations or different content to serve to the customer based on that kind of what we know, what we've gathered, was able to produce a wide range of results for them. So first of all, they were able to have a 5.5% increase on their newsletter engagement with the clicks to open, which is absolutely fantastic because, again, you are competing for that space in a customer's inbox. So being able to increase that open rate and engagement as they go through that kind of targeted email is really important. And similarly with kind of the click to open and the open rate as well, huge increase. And this led to a 1.4% increase in their engagement. So again, being able to, again, this is kind of going into the sort of idea of demand generation, being able to personalize those emails and bring them all together really helps with how their life cycle marketing is shaped for each of their customers.
Thank you so much, Ben and Jamie, for that. As you would imagine, as head of strategy, lifecycle marketing is one of the core conversations that I have. Every marketer knows that they need to be more targeted, more relevant, but how do you start that? And actually breaking down your different customers and prospects into those key stages, understanding what those needs are at that moment in time, really then helps you kind of shape the programs. And some great examples there of what you can do, what you could send, and love that case study of kind of bringing it all together. So we've got a couple of questions just to fire at you, if you don't mind. Jamie, I might start with you. So clearly, lifecycle marketing makes sense. It's something that every business, no matter what type of business, from direct through to B2B, should be looking at. But how would you suggest that that a business starts their lifecycle marketing planning?
Thank you, Nick, and that's a really good question. I think the first thing is being able to kind of go back to the drawing board and understand the customer journey, understand each step of that customer journey, from kind of the initial kind of how you are acquiring those customers, how do you grow them, how are they purchasing those products, and being able to kind of understand the wider holistic picture can help you map out how you are building for each stage of the customer's life cycle. Because again, each part is going to be different. Every customer is going to be different. So it's being able to do your due diligence and research to be able to feed into that and therefore kind of work out the strategies. I think the other thing is to, when starting out, is to be able to also just look at kind of experimentation. So again, because there are going to be approaches that may seem tried and tested, like, oh, hey, we should do a welcome email cadence, and that works for the vast majority of businesses. It might not work for your business. So maybe look at, well, hey, we've got a sect of customers that are particularly loyal. How do we kind of target them? Maybe do the direct mail approach and send them, something to surprise and delight them in the mail. Or maybe if you're trying to retain those customers, maybe sending them an SMS, should they have opted in and given that permission, can also help them. So it's trying to leverage the best strategy and experiment to also see what works for your business, not just the vast majority of businesses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess, overlaying those kind of key stages, which we've kind of defined with that key moments in your own customer's journey. And then I guess finding those priorities, trying to do everything at once, you're likely to fall over, but actually starting to iterate, bringing in something simple and then scale up has got to help as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's the main takeaway, Nick, just step by step, but kind of like building a Lego house in a way. You just want to pick up each little piece to build up that bigger picture that can help your business grow.
Yeah, lovely. Ben, anything that you'd add to that at all?
I would very much agree with what you've both mentioned there. Certainly starting small and building up is the way I would go about it. And I would say in the first instance, just detaching yourself from the sends completely is probably the right idea. So don't in the first instance focus on the exact sends that you want to do. start with the focus on what you want them to know, and then the sends will kind of work themselves out from that point in terms of what you're touching on. So as an example, if you do it the other way around, and I'll use welcome email just as that has already been mentioned in this conversation, if you have a very structured idea that you want to do one welcome email and then work out afterwards what it is you'd like them to know, you then run the risk of actually having way more than you think that you want to share at that point, and it's a very long email and it's not the best way to go about it. Whereas if you do it the other way around and establish, okay, in the early stages of the journey, this is what I would like them to know, and then you can establish, okay, based on the amount of content here, I think it would work best as a 4-part welcome journey, that this goes in the first email, this goes in the second email. I think that's the better way of structuring. So I would almost say don't get caught up in the exact sends to start with, and more just start with exactly what you'd like to share, and then the way in which you do that will follow.
Lovely. We know that one of the biggest challenges for most marketing departments at the moment is resource. There's being asked to do more, often with either the same resource or slightly less. So where you showed, Ben, that kind of, let's call it the menu of possible campaigns, that might be a bit overwhelming to many going, where do I start with that?
Exactly.
Automation is a great way to kind of help with that. What would be your kind of thoughts in terms of where automation might be useful and where automation might help with those kind of resourcing considerations?
Everywhere is the simple answer. But I will go a little bit more in depth than that. But in all honesty, all 5 stages, I think there should be elements of automation in all of those. Certainly early on, where you don't want them. I don't think you want subscribers to go directly into your main pot from the first point. So I think early is a good opportunity for automation to be involved. But then also late as well. So reactivation programs and giving lapsed customers multiple opportunities to re-engage and trying a couple of different things. You can tailor that based on last purchase date or last click date or whatever metric you want to use. So actually early and late, I would argue, are 2 very good points to start using automation. But the honest answer is it will be sprinkled in everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie, have you got anything to add? I'm guessing as a map platform sponsor, you might do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, while there is a level of bias, it's also being able to pick the right tools for being able to automate, because again, with kind of resource and how busy marketers can be, it's picking the right tools to be able to automate. Being able to kind of have all of your kind of data, all of your contacts. You don't want kind of like a fragmented, siloed kind of marketing technology stack. So being able to kind of audit, being able to kind of see what works, what doesn't work for your business, can help you sort of make a more efficient strategy, not just for your customers, but also just for you, because you are the key to that kind of marketing success for your company. And, being able to produce that in a more efficient way, be it kind of through those kind of welcome journeys, or like kind of for lapsed customers, or maybe just making simple automations like when a customer abandons cart or abandons browse, is going to be extremely important to that. But as Ben said, it encompasses the whole picture. But that leads on to a very good point about kind of auditing as well, because again, as I mentioned, customer kind of trends and how it's ever changing, and how those preferences, how your products, how it's always constantly developing. So it's always good to build out these automations, but also revisit them, be it every 6 months, every 3 months, a strategy that works for you and your team, to be able to kind of combine that resource and then effectively go, right, we need to fix this automation, or we need to build this. So it's again looking at that bigger picture so that it can help yourself and help your customers.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And it's one of those best practice hygiene points about not forgetting about your automations, both in terms of making sure they're still up to date and right, but also how they interplay with some of your campaign and other messages that are going out, to make sure they're not contradictory, and using the logic of who should get what at what point. And again, platforms can help you with that, the management of that, rather than being an individual resource point. Jamie, I'll stick with you. I've got another question in. How do you think we can manage subscribers who are lapsed, but we're not able to get them to re-engage?
That's a very good question. I think the first thing is being able to leverage different channels. Particularly because if there's one channel that they just aren't engaging on, how can you shift that? And provided that they have given that consent for you to contact them on that particular channel, then leveraging that can allow you to kind of shift focus and then maybe understand that. Maybe because they're subscribed to an old email address, subscribed to your marketing list through an old email address, but they may still have their current contact number on there. So being able to kind of shift from, say, email to SMS with, say, a time-sensitive offer, and then being able to kind of leverage from there allows you kind of that flexibility to go, hey, this customer's contactable on SMS, and maybe sending a service message to then go, well, hey, we've noticed you haven't been opening your emails. Is this the right email? Or leading them into, say, a preference in central CRM, again, with that kind of explicit permission, allows you to have relevant, more up-to-date details on the customer. So I think taking a multi-channel approach, but again, approaching it in a helpful, not harassment kind of way, which some businesses do, kind of channel, like sending SMSs like every single day to customers is really key. I think the other thing around kind of being able to target lapsed customers is, again, thinking outside of the box, because if they're maybe not opening on a digital channel, maybe going to the kind of physical channels, and maybe, with budget and kind of resource allowances, maybe allowing for kind of direct mail can maybe hopefully win them back in a physical and surprise and delight way.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, you and I work with a lot of clients thinking about and then developing their win back lapsing and lapse programs. What's the experience that you would kind of share with the audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. I won't touch too much on those points, just because Jamie did a very good job there. But certainly, where you've got the opportunity to provide multiple opportunities months apart, I think understanding what your average purchase sort of cycle would be to work out what is the amount of what is the time of unengagement before you start the unengaged sort of reactivation campaigns, but just a relaying of the benefits, an offer back can be a really effective way of doing that as well. And then just briefly, I would say there are some instances as well, as good as your actual campaigns are, as good as your reactivation campaigns are, there are going to be instances where someone is well and truly lapsed, and it might not be a reflection on what you've done as a company in terms of your marketing. So actually, I think the case study you mentioned, there's a very good example of that, Jamie, because there is going to be a limit, regardless of how good the service has been, just based on the time sensitive nature of the company. There is going to become a point where it's just not valuable to someone, regardless of how good it has been in the past. But I think in that instance, where you can provide, where you have got a reactivation campaign, where you are actively or proactively managing unsubscribes, I think, let's say there's an example where someone, a couple's had a child, they've gone through the experience, they've had a great experience with the company, it's come to an end, don't need them anymore. I think then, if they've gone unengaged and unsubscribing them, and then let's say in 5 years' time, there's a second child on the way, I think that they'd be more likely to return back to the beginning of the cycle, rather than if you've been harassing them for 5 straight years and keeping them on your list for the sake of numbers. Maybe they won't have the same opinion that they did 5 years ago. So that's just one example of where the unsubscribe is actually more valuable than keeping someone on a list completely unengaged for years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Never be afraid of retiring an email address if they're not engaging with it, but understanding why and understanding the likelihood of coming back or what that cycle might be. And I guess using multiple points. So again, using within that one, recognizing that somebody's lapsing. So that's an important segment, which brings us back to our, the value of lifecycle marketing, but also then surveys, questions, that ability to offer an enhanced offer, all kind of helps with that element as well. Fantastic. Well, we are about coming to the end of our session today. So I just wanted to, there's no more kind of questions now. So I just wanted to say thank you, Ben, as ever, for, I could listen to you all day. It's, that's sad, but true. Jamie, an amazing session. Thank you for bringing those examples and those case studies. And I also want to say a special thank you for two things. One, for reminding me that we used to pay for ringtones. Now they're jumped back to many of us. And secondly, for reminding me of that process or that idea of a sad burger. It's very true and very, very pertinent. So yeah, much appreciated.
Absolutely.
So it just remains to say thank you very much for watching, whether you're here now or whether you've done it on catch up. Lifecycle marketing, core to any marketing strategy and delivery. So please do feel free to kind of watch us again. You'll get a link to do that. Please do share across the socials, any of the snippets, anything that you've taken away, tag in Jurang and Map so that we can kind of respond to it as well. That would be fantastic. So Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jamie, thank you very much. And to everyone watching, thank you. And we'll see you again very soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.